Are there certain fundamentals in business that you should always do to future-proof your business? Yeah. Make sure that your leadership is always squared away. It all starts and ends with leadership. Whoever the president becomes, left or right, it doesn't much matter. You have to figure out, what does a win look like for me under this jurisdiction? And then market and sell accordingly. Change is how we live today. Like, we need to embrace change. Entrepreneurship is not like, hey, we're just going to do business as usual. Business as usual is dead, and so you better adopt and adapt or perish.
Remember, adversity is your advantage.
All right, friends, welcome back to another episode of the CEO Show. Another month, another episode with my man B. Welcome back.
Yes, sir. Good to be back in studio, Bryce.
Holy smokes. 2024, like a blink of an eye, man. Just kicked off, and now it's completed. We're here in December, which is just crazy. So we're going to talk a little bit about the future-proofing our business, your business. And as the year is ending here, I want to kind of look under the kimono, if you will, and just get your perspective. What was the biggest lessons that you've learned personally and I guess professionally from navigating this past year, B?
Well, so for me personally, also this year I turned 50, right? And so July of 2024, I turned 50. And I was telling Andrew, my son, he's 19, I said, buddy, it's funny. Now in my late 40s, it felt like every year felt like 9 months. And I go, now that I'm 50, I think it's going to be like every year is going to feel like 6 months. Like time goes by quicker the older you get. And you realize like, oh, time is slipping, sand out of your hands. And so I was like, man, get more done in your 20s and 30s than I ever did, son. And I did a lot, but I was like, you got to get more done than I ever did.
I think you said when you were talking to our mastermind a while back, front load your youth. Front load,
yeah. Front load your hardest work in your youth because you have more energy and time just seems to stand still in your 20s, and in your 40s and 50s, man, it's just speeding by. I'm like, how is it that we were in November, and then now here we are, bam, December, it just goes by. So that's just a fun little lesson for everyone. But with that, so that's a big lesson I learned. The older I get, now that I'm in my 50s, I realize every year is going by quicker than the years previous. Another lesson that I've learned, a lot of lessons in 2024, is being an election year. The guy or gal in the White House doesn't matter as much as we think they do. And on the macro level for your own personal life. On the macro level for the country, it does, right? But on the
micro level for your life.
On the micro level for your life, the guy or gal in the White House doesn't matter because the day-to-day decisions they make only affect you if you let it. You get to decide. We've talked about this on a previous episode, like how you think, how you believe, what you listen to, what actions you take, what value you add to humanity, et cetera, how you price your products, how you market. I might market differently if I've got a Democrat in the White House versus a Republican, and I might market differently if we've got, more regulation this next 4 years instead of that. But otherwise, like, I get to control my own economy. I get to control my own life, my own thoughts, feelings, emotions, actions, deeds, etc. But on the macro level, yes, it does affect our country, and that's an important thing. We need to make the right decisions, and we need to make sure that we have our politicians' feet to the fire because ultimately they work for us. We shouldn't look at them as our leaders. We should look at them as our public servants, which is who they are, even the President of the United States.
Or policymakers. And it's interesting, this free market capitalist environment that I love it actually crushes me sometimes to some people, I think good intentions, but they look for the president or officials or politicians as their leaders. And that's not how our government was designed. Government is supposed to be the referees. They're policymakers.
Right.
And my firm belief in the value of this particular country is your leaders should be in the private sector who you choose to follow, right? Because at the end of the day, we have a vote, right? But we don't have full autonomy who's going to be the president, right? Who just got elected. But at the end of the day, like from my belief and the way this system works is the policymakers are the government officials. Really who you need to follow are leaders, change makers, hopefully like guys like you and I, right? So I just want to kind of hit that and really shape some perspective around that.
Yep. You make a very good point.
Yeah.
But with that, I guess the other big thing that I've learned this year in 2024 is that change in the marketplace happens faster than ever. With AI, with social media, with ads, with now you can get ambassadors and influencers. Now you can go to websites and services and brokers and get your favorite celebrity or athlete to endorse your product or service. Just depends on how much money you have to spend and what is your ROAS on the back end and your lifetime value and cost of acquisition. You might be willing to pay a celebrity $400,000 or $500,000 if your product has a high lifetime value and a long stick rate. And so 2024 has shown me that entrepreneurship is not like, hey, we're just going to do business as usual. Business as usual is dead. You have to constantly keep your ear to the ground and see what's coming next in the pipeline. Is there a new platform? Is there a new service? Did the algorithm change? Like YouTube wasn't anything, and then all of a sudden YouTube started making shorts a thing. You open up your YouTube app and they don't show long form anymore. The things that they put in front of you are the YouTube shorts. And the reason YouTube started doing that this year in 2024 is because they go, hey, we realize attention right now is going to TikTok and Instagram with the Reels and the TikToks. If we want to stay relevant, so they're giving the shorts 8 times more views than long form.
And what's the lesson for our audience there? For me, it's about adaptation, making sure that you can create, more than your competitors can copy.
Yeah. Exactly. Adopt or perish. And so if you're like, well, but I only like long form because I structure my thing and I do these long form videos like this, well, that's great. This long form content that we're doing here will only be found on YouTube if we put short bits of 30 to 60 second pieces on YouTube Shorts every day, because those get 8 times more views than this does. So they find you on Shorts, then they subscribe to your long form. And if someone's like, well, I don't want to make shorts, and I don't think I can make short punchy things in 30 seconds and 60 seconds, so that's not fair. Well, then you'll be out of business. And so you better adopt and adapt or perish.
Yeah, amen. For me, B, I would say it just another year of testing my leadership. Leadership is always the problem, always the solution, right? Yep. And getting dialed in on my framework, my leadership framework, which you've helped me continue to, I guess, manifest and clarify and optimize. My framework is adversity is your advantage. In my core, I believe this to be true. My leadership framework is lead yourself, lead your family, lead your empire. This is something that we've had deep conversations about, and probably one of the biggest lessons, and just a message to the audience, is the value of coaching, the value of mentorship, the value of guidance. And one of the best things that I did this year, B, was follow your coaching. Actually, at the tail end of 2023, your vision, or at least your recommendation from a coaching lens, is like, Bryce, I see the podcast, I see your development, but I think what we need to do is open up the branding. We're moving away from the Fitness CEO show or Fitness CEO podcast and changing it to the CEO show with Bryce Henson, and really following your passion towards the pillars of teaching leadership, promoting capitalism, defending free speech. And B, I can tell you, we rebranded just 6 months ago in July of this past year, but I've just been on fire, the enthusiasm, and I think I've learned a lot from you, so I'm grateful for you. And on that note, from a learning lesson, I just want to be able to provide the audience, like, follow coaching, follow mentorship, and just take action to what you believe in.
Well, there's something huge about that, right? Because, again, I've got a decade over you in terms of age and experience, and so I might see things around the corner that you quite don't, and you've got a decade over someone else, and you're going to see things around the corner with outside eyes that they're not. And if we do this right, this is how we keep generations constantly moving at a faster speed than we were. Like, I love seeing you thrive and grow faster than I was as a leader, as a CEO, as a marketer. And that's because I'm like, hey, I tried all these things, they don't work. These things work for me. Start there. So if I could put you at a starting line that's closer to your goal, what a gift, right? And that's what good mentorship is. And that's what people should strive for. I think people think that, well, I'll just be a lone wolf and figure it out myself. I think that's the stupidest thing you can do.
Yeah, amen to that.
Yeah.
B, looking back at this year, what's been probably one of the biggest challenges you went through? It could even be from a personal perspective or a business perspective. Would love to unpack that.
One of the biggest challenges for me was, on the personal side, it was losing my mom at the end of 2023. September of 2023, I lost my mom. The reason it served as a very big challenge for me in 2024 is because I didn't take the time to mourn and to honor my mom's life and legacy. And instead, my mindset was, well, life is for the living. Like, I was there for my mom till her very last breath, held her hand and held her head as she passed away, and we had the funeral, and now let's keep moving forward.
Move on, yeah.
We're alive. She's not. Let's keep running our businesses. Let's keep serving humanity. Let's keep adding value to the world. So that lasted about 90 days. And then 2024 came about, and it's like, oh, it's Christmas, and we're not going to my mom's house. We normally would go to my mom's house Christmas Eve and open up gifts, the whole family, etc. Oh, we're not doing that. And my dad's still alive, obviously, and so my sister hosted Christmas, but it was a very stark awakening. Like, oh, wait a minute, we're at my sister's house. She's now become the matriarch. She's my older sister. And then, like March comes around of 2024. It's my mom's birthday, and you feel more pain. And so big lesson here is everyone in your life that you know who's older than you is going to die. And sadly, unfortunately, sometimes people much younger than you die. 2 weeks after my mom's death, my son's best friend, Cap, died. Nicholas Capoletti. His heart stopped while working out at the home gym.
As a teenager,
right? 17-year-old. And so now at that time, I got an 18-year-old to console while I'm trying to figure out the loss of my mom, right? And so I share that because if you don't take the time to mourn, grief, and honor the dead, it will come back around to get you. It will. Like, we have to go through the healing process, the mourning process, the grieving process. And I didn't. So that was a big lesson for me on the personal side.
Yeah.
On the professional side, a big lesson for me was that when we elect, going back to what we talked about, macro and micro, when we elect a president who is socialistic in his operations of our country, and inflation, interest rates, gas prices, everything went up. People have less discretionary income.
Oh yeah.
And so a big challenge for me, being the founder of many different businesses, Fit Body Bootcamp, Truly Supplements, co-founded or co-own Fuel Hunt Apparel, different coaching business and experiential events. All of a sudden, you have to market differently. You have to find a new sector. You have to find new hot buttons to push, like to get people to take action. And you realize, wow, an objection that I haven't heard for many, many years, close to a decade. Hey, I'm running out of money. I don't have money. I just don't make enough money. Even though I make a six-figure salary, it just gets dwindled by the time I pay my mortgage and my family's living expenses. And so marketing's been pretty difficult, but we have to figure out newer, better, more different ways to market in an economy that has produced erosion of money at probably one of the highest levels that we've seen in our lifetime.
Oh, it's been really, really tough.
Yeah.
I appreciate that share. For me, it's interesting kind of doubling down that point. You physically lost your mother.
Yeah.
I don't want to go through the specifics, but I lost 2 family members to alcohol, right?
Yeah.
So one previously, but one kind of came through this year. And it's interesting, the call to action there is, you can lose someone physically or you can lose someone emotionally through a vice or addiction. And, the call to action is live life now with urgency. No one's coming to save you on this white horse. The time isn't yesterday. The time's not tomorrow. The time is now to take action. This is all we have in life. And that was a really stark reminder for me this past year, 2024.
Yeah. It's the same loss, by the way, whether you lose someone emotionally, someone that you love and they're alive, but you've lost them to an addiction, or you lose them physically, the same feeling of loss and emptiness that you feel, I imagine, is the same. And so in those moments, you have to, again, grieve through that. You have to maybe think about the good times that you had, and hopefully this family member comes back around. But if they don't, then all you have is the memories to live off of, and that has to be enough. Just like all I have is my mom's memories and voice messages that she had sent me that I have to go back to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's also part of managing change and transition, which entrepreneurs do. And here we are at the onset of 2025, and change and transition is on the horizon. So from your lens, B, what's 2025 look like? And I love this. I love sitting down with you once a month just because not only of our friendship, but I have a lot of respect, admiration, and you have not only had a lot of success, but you have 10 years on me. You see around corners that we just talked about. So I love your insights into what the 2025 is going to bring.
So I've been thinking a lot about this actually for the last 6 months about what this 2025 looks like. And I don't normally think 6 months ahead when there's a new year coming. But because we were in an election year with 2024, right? Mm-hmm. I knew that, all right, I have to make a decision. Like if this president, if we have this person for president, this is how our marketing has to change and business model has to change. If this person is our president, this is how it has to change. Either way, we make more money. Mm-hmm. But the way we present. In fact, I was just talking to Ryan Tillman on a coaching call earlier. Ryan Tillman, he is a former Chino police officer, and he created a business called Public Safety United. And
he's been on the show. I think he was on maybe like in September timeframe. So when I link this in the show notes. Perfect. Awesome episode.
Perfect. Great guy. Former police officer. And what he was doing when he was a cop is he was bringing, and he's an African-American cop, and so he was bringing communities and cops together, especially post-pandemic when it was the whole defund the police time and all these things, and George Floyd's situation happened.
Division. And
right. Yeah. There's so much division. He was like, hey, I'm going to bring cops and communities together. And so he kind of created his social media platform and grew big. Well, he created a platform called Public Safety United. Public Safety United, as I'm coaching him through this, is recruiting and retention of new police officers. Like right now, more than ever, there's understaffing of police officers across the entire nation because of the defunding of the police, because everyone is making these videos of cops and, re-editing them and taking it out of context, and cops are getting fired, and no one wants to become a cop. Yeah. So old cops are stepping down. They're like, you know what? I'm just going to take an early retirement because you're defunding us and our departments aren't standing, our agencies and departments don't have our backs anymore. Because of the policymakers, the mayors and the governors, right? And then you've got what were going to be new recruits. They're like, I don't think right now is the time to be a cop, just like the military, because of the Biden economics and the Biden lack of leadership, I should say. Oh, yeah. The military, for the first time, they were talking about, hey, we might have to have a draft again, right? We haven't had a draft since the 60s. 60s and 70s, right? Yeah, because of Vietnam, exactly. And so when people don't feel like leadership has their back, they don't want to go and put their life on the line and risk themselves and be a patriot, right? That's just a reality. And so anyway, I share this with you because what Ryan's new company does is helps police agencies recruit and retain new talent, new police officers in a new way, allowing them to say, hey, look, I know a policy has always been not to post yourself on social media in your uniform, but what if we made that okay? And helping these agencies that are operating under old school guidelines, going in there and saying, look, what's wrong with a police officer in the community playing basketball in uniform with some kids here in the city, making a video of it, sharing it on his or her personal social media, and giving that agency the opportunity to shine in a good light? Because inevitably a video is going to pop out. Mm-hmm. It's going to be maybe taken out of context of that a different cop in that same agency doing something wrong until they're proven right. But no one ever follows up to see where they're proven right. They just go, oh my God, cops are bad, right? And so Ryan figured this out early on. So he said, hey, B, what happens when, if it's a Democrat versus a Republican president? I said, well, Ryan, a Republican president, odds are you're going to have a lot more federal funding for Public Safety United to be able to get it out, because now he's aligning with the NFL, the NBA, the Major League Baseball, and saying, hey, look, you guys should be talking about Public Safety United because you guys were the ones talking about defund the police and the police are bad. Well, now let's talk about what Public Safety United is doing, bringing in new, young, more motivated, more modern cops on the scene who are socially aware, emotionally connected, and you have to support Public Safety United. Otherwise, agencies aren't going to use our process to recruit and retain new cops. They're going to keep looking for the old types of cops who don't jive with the current culture, right? And so, but I said, if you have a Republican in office, you're probably going to get federal funding, and Public Safety United is going to get federal attention. Like, if you have a Democrat in office, you're still going to be successful with Public Safety United, but the marketing is going to change. It's going to be us against them. Hey, the current administration, being Democrats, being left-leaning, don't want us to be able to change the culture positively in police departments because they want to make police officers and police agencies evil and villainize them. And so we have to work better at the community level. So please donate to Public Safety United because federal government doesn't want us to be out there doing what we do best, which is changing the perception of modern day policing. And so I said, either way, Ryan Tillman and Public Safety United wins. We're either aligned with this Republican presidential cabinet, or we have a us against them marketing campaign against a Democratic president. He's like, holy smokes, I get it. And in business, that's what we have to do. So whoever the president becomes, left or right, it doesn't much matter, right? And obviously we're sitting here in a new election and under new jurisdiction. You have to figure out, what does a win look like for me under this jurisdiction, and then market and sell accordingly. Now, are there certain fundamentals in business that you should always do to future-proof your business? Yeah. Find ways to have multiple income streams, number one. Find ways to have a continuity income stream or two, recurring revenue, membership, subscription, right? Make sure that your leadership is always squared away. Your leadership, again, we talk about leadership as the lid. It all starts and ends with leadership. Your leadership is squared away. Be open-minded, not only yourself at the very top as the CEO and the founder of the company, but all the way to the very bottom, lowest level employee, that change is how we live today. Like, we need to embrace change, because change in 2025 is going to be more frequent, more pivots, more change, more shifting than ever before. Technology changes quicker. It used to be that technology would change about every 10 to 15 years. And then it was like every 8 to 9. Then it was every 5 years. Now it's like every few months, technology and the way we do business with AI. I literally just yesterday got a text from Leighton, and Leighton says, hey, B, you're not going to believe this, but this guy created an AI Bedros. You ask it a question, and it answers a life coaching, business coaching in your voice.
Snap.
In your voice.
Smokes.
With your level of like passion and relentlessness in the voice.
Intensity. Let's go.
Yeah. And he goes, they've got your voice about 80, 90% dialed in, but they said, if you want to get on board and support this thing and make it a business model, and maybe for $15 a month, put it out there for like a very low price offer. Hey, you can now get life coaching, business coaching from the AI Bedros. Here's your thing. And I said, well, send me the app. Let me take a look at it. Dude, I was blown away. They used a lot of my stuff from my podcast and a lot of my videos and a lot of podcasts that I've done of other people to extract knowledge and to figure out how I would think and process through these questions.
It's like machine learning and extracting all your content.
Yeah.
And then putting a profile that could be an AI business coach, Bedros Keuilian.
Yeah. So imagine, like, if you're a Tony Robbins fan and you're like, man, I can't afford to pay Tony Robbins for $1 million for a year of coaching, but I love and respect Tony Robbins. Imagine if he had a Tony Robbins AI that allowed you to get Tony Robbins level answers in his voice from a platform for $15 a month, right? And so, like, my brain is processing, how can we use this as a low barrier entry into our ecosystem of businesses and then ascend people up? Now, if you had asked me, I would have been like, if you said, hey, B, in 2025, they're going to have a virtual you in your voice, your intensity, and about 80, 90% of your voice is accurate, and currently 60% of the answers are similar to how you would give it. The rest are kind of airy-fairy. When it can't figure out an answer, because it's not out there in the world yet, it goes to like a ChatGPT for backup, and then ChatGPT will spit out the most popular answer, and then it'll say that in my own voice. And so I was like, until it's like near 100%, I wouldn't want to do this. They said, well, if you're on board with it and we do a revenue share, then we can probably teach it how you would answer, and then it would be near 100%. But look at this, man. Like, people could literally have me in their pocket, like later this year, if I decide to move forward with this. And it blows me away, because then imagine if you ask it a business question. Actually, the question that I asked was, because I was just trying to be funny, I said, hey, over the weekend, I lost all my coaching clients. How can I get them back, right? Because Leighton sent me this sample app, and I was thinking for a long while, because I think I stumped it. And then it said, well, you can't He basically was like, hey, I can't help you figure out how to get your clients back, but what I can help you figure out is how to get new clients back and teach you what to do to not lose them over the weekend. You may have made some bad decisions, right? Because I was talking about, hey, it's the weekends when people make some bad decisions, drinking, partying, undersleeping, getting in fights with their spouse, and then you're not as effective on a Monday or a Tuesday. And so, but it was pretty cool how it gave an answer, and the voice sounded close to mine, but not exactly, but pretty damn close. And now I'm thinking like, gee, if I did this, and if it gave 100% exact answers, and my voice was 100% like me, could I also build hey, by the way, if you really want to, like a follow-up, if you really want to work with me at a higher level, text me at this number, and let's see if you're going to be a good fit to work with me in my domination year, half-day coaching client, or to buy a Fit Body Bootcamp franchise, right? Like, could I have built-in ads and offers in this $15 a month offer? Like, that crossed my mind because, and by the way, an hour before Leighton sent me that, I had no idea something like that exists. I know ChatGPT is, but I didn't know they can like customize a Bryce and put it in an app and his answers and his tonality and his intensity.
Yeah, I didn't know that until right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden in that time, I was like, all right, this might be a new business model that allows us to get low barrier entry into our pipeline and then ascend people up. And then so now I'm thinking, okay, this company that does this, they want to do a revenue share with me because they would want me to pimp it out to my social media and to my email list. But if I was like, hey, let's do something better. Let's ascend people up into my franchise, my supplements, my higher level coaching program, are they going to want to do revenue share there? Because if they do, that has to look differently. So look at how like future proofing your business looks like. Knowing that we've got some pretty bad times ahead of us. The next couple of years, few years, as the economy continues to dip, buying behavior is going to change. I love having a $100,000 a year coaching program. I love having very high ticket premium products and services. But I'm also very aware that I also need some very low ticket things into my pipeline. Like $15 a month is what they're proposing to be able to ascend people up. And so it's funny, as I was thinking like, hey, economy's changing. I've got to start thinking about what low-level price points I can create. Boom, something like that falls in my lap. And I have to be willing to accept change. If I was of the mindset, nope, I've already planned out my 2025 and this is how it's going to be, I wouldn't even be open to the idea of this. So part of me was like, no, this is goofy. It's just kind of a tchotchke kind of thing. But I'm like, no, there might be some merit to this. And so entrepreneurs have to create multiple income streams. They have to create some level of subscription or recurring payments so they don't start every month at $0, that they have a predictable dollar amount scheduled to come in because of a membership fee, a software fee, a franchise royalty fee, something. And then they need to figure out how they can have a high ticket, mid ticket, and a low ticket offer moving forward, especially in 2025. Because if you want to future proof your business, the future for the time being over the next 2 to 4 years, the economy is going to dip. People are going to have a harder time making financial commitments, but that doesn't mean they're not interested in buying. They just want to buy something at a lower price and work their way up. And you have to create that ladder for them.
Love this. B, what it reminds me of, it was reading an article about Jeff Bezos, the founder and CEO of Amazon. I mean, he's not the CEO anymore, but he's famously quoted saying, you must be rigid with the vision, but flexible with the details. In both this AI example and Ryan Tillman, the vision here at FitBody for us is to inspire fitness, change lives, to continue to help and support our communities in North America, but we also have to be flexible with the details, rigid with the vision, flexible with details. Yeah. So that's kind of what your examples reminded me of. How does, someone watching this right now balance that, knowing that they need to, create long-term strategic plans, but the same token, they got to be flexible and agile as well. And you showed 2 examples, but mentally, how have you done that? And I guess what's your advice so that way our audience can travel through that fine line of that dichotomy?
Yep. So I gave a general advice, so let's get more specific into the weeds. One thing you need is time. When you have time, you have room to think, right? And so most entrepreneurs are in the weeds. They're looking down and in instead of up and out. As an entrepreneur, a leader, founder, a CEO, you need a lot more time looking up and out, working on your business, and not down and in, looking in your business, working in your business. And so you have to ask yourself, what is a dollar amount that I'm not willing to work for? So, okay, if this can be done for $50 an hour or less, I need to delegate it, right? Maybe it's $50, maybe it's $100 an hour or less. I'm going to delegate.
Maybe if it's for you, maybe it's $20 or less.
Maybe it's $20.
Figure out what your pay grade is, what your pay scale is, and then reverse engineer that.
Yeah. And then all the things that you do on your list, you're like, okay, my house cleaning, can I outsource that? Yes, outsource it. If I can take away 1 hour a day from house cleaning, because I've outsourced it to Molly Maid. That 1 hour a day of strategic thinking on how can I future-proof my business? How can I create multiple income streams? How can I create a second tier, third tier, fourth tier offer? How can I create a back-end sale? Like we all know that the money is made on the back end. Look at Fit Body Bootcamp. What we do, we sign a client up at a local Fit Body Bootcamp to work out. But if you want the nutrition component, that's going to cost you more.
An extra $20 a week.
Right?
Yeah.
And that gives more money to our franchisees who are running these locations. And that creates now 2 income streams. And then if you want to run a aging adult program, then you can run that. Now that gives you a 3rd income stream, right?
Which we have a program called Fit Body Forever, targeted, 55 and better, which right now is just continues on the upswing. It's unbelievably inspiring.
Yeah. I mean, think of it, 55 and over. I'm 50 now. And there was a generation where, like, after their 40s, they didn't work out. Now, baby boomers and aging adults, like, as a 50-year-old, all I want to do is stay as fit, functional, and mobile as possible to be able to keep up with my kids and my future grandkids, knowing that in the future, I'm a great candidate for Fit Body Forever. Like, more people are going to be great candidates for Fit Body Forever than ever before, right? So there's a 3rd income stream. And then you look at, well, you're going to need supplements, because if you're not getting all your protein intake, you're going to need supplements. And so there's a 4th income stream. And I say this because when you start thinking about, when you have the time, you are able to buy back your time. And that's what we're talking about, whether it's $20 an hour, $30, $40, $50, $100 an hour. If you can start saying, I'm going to have someone else do my grocery shopping. I save myself an hour there. I'm going to have someone else clean my house. I save myself an hour there. Now, if you've got 2 hours a day that you can just dedicate to doing big thinking, looking up and out into the future, what does the future of my business look like to create back-end revenue, recurring revenue, to increase the lifetime value of a customer? If they're going to be with me for 3 months, can I get them to stay with me for 5, 6, 7, 8 months? What is the average order value? In other words, if they're going to give me $1,200 over 3 months, can I get $2,000 over 5 months? Those are the big thinkings that you need, and that only happens when you buy back time and you put yourself in a creative space. For me, it's usually at the park, walking after my workout.
Bilateral
stimulation, right? Yeah. We're walking, we're using both sides of the brain, the left and right side of the hemisphere, and then all of a sudden the great ideas come. I'm not in a rush, like, oh my God, all I have is 10 minutes to walk outside and then I got to go and do a meeting and do this. I give myself 4 hours in the morning of free time. That includes my workout, that includes my breakfast, shower, etc. But I don't wake up and jump on calls and emails and all this stuff, because if I did, I don't do the big thinking that's required to move Fit Body Bootcamp version 10.0 forward, Truly Supplements forward. And so as the founder, we need to buy back our time as much as possible and do big thinking for the future. And that only happens when you start delegating the trivial stuff that don't really matter.
Yeah, amen to that. So, B, as we wrap up, my last question for you, and we're looking at 2025 right now. This episode, obviously, is the tail end of 2024, and it's talking about the future business planning, et cetera. But I want to give our audience some tangible takeaways. We still have 3 to 4 weeks left in December right now.
Yeah.
And so many times, especially in the fitness industry, people are like, oh, I'm going to wait till January. And then they dig themselves a hole in October, November, December. And it's actually exponentially harder to get in the shape they want to get in because they dig themselves a hole. So yes, we're talking about 2025, but what's the biggest single advice that someone listening or watching this can do now in December to set them up for 2025? I don't want to take me home there, buddy.
Easy. And I'm going to give credit where credit is due. And this is to our friend, Ed Milet. And Ed Milet says, the month of December is separation season. It is separation season. While everyone else is slowing down their workouts, loosening up on their nutrition, saying, hey, business has slowed down. It's supposed to slow down in December. I'll kick everything back into gear, nutrition, fitness, workouts, business in January. He goes, this is separation season. December is when you start getting even more strict on your workouts, dialing your diets even more. Start planning what your marketing campaigns are going to be and sales strategies are going to be and back-end offers are going to be when January hits. So when January hits, everyone else is starting to come up with plans. You're already executing on January 1st what your plans are, and you were executing well in December. And so it's to take advantage of the separation season now so that you can go full speed ahead in January instead of trying to ramp up speed like every other schlep rock.
And that is the advice, my dude. I appreciate you. Yes, incredible episode. And my friends, I know you got value. The time is now. Do not dig yourself a hole for 2025. You got 4 weeks of action left. If you got value for today, just do me 2 solids. Like this, subscribe this, and remember, adversity is your advantage. We'll see you in the next episode.